may be nearing an answer tonight about what happened to a Saudi journalist.
It's been over a week since Jamal Khashoggi went into that Saudi consulate.
The disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi continues to dominate headlines worldwide. The Washington Post writer's critical take on the Saudi government appears to have cost him his life.
I still see him as a reformer, but he is gathering all power within his hand.
And while the Saudis reluctantly begin to reveal what happened in their own consulate.
Turkish police have taken away a truckload of evidence from the Saudi consulate.
The Saudis are preparing a report.
It's become increasingly clear that Khashoggi's work got him killed.
So what does the president do? Sanctions?
It's up to the president, but what I would do, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to sanction the hell out of Saudi Arabia.
Already this year, more than 40 journalists have died doing their job. Author and Washington Post columnist Anne Applebaum expects there will be more, because the global reach of what journalists are writing and broadcasting is putting them in conflict like never before with the very people they are trying to hold to account. Anne Applebaum joins us from London. And tell us more about how you believe this increasingly interconnected world of us is actually putting investigative journalists in particular in greater danger.
Someone like Khashoggi, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, wouldn't have been a big problem for the Saudi government. He would have been sent into exile. He would have written his articles. People in Washington would have read them. It wouldn't have mattered. Now he writes something in Washington. People on their smartphones in Riyadh can read what he said minutes later. Journalists have a much wider reach, a much wider ability to penetrate into authoritarian societies than they did a couple of decades ago. And at the same time, we're also living in an era when authoritarians and also quite a few Democrats have a lot more to hide than they used to. The offshore banking world is bigger than it ever was. Something like between maybe up to 10% of the world's wealth is now hidden in offshore bank accounts. People have things to hide. Journalists are looking for ways to expose them, and it's becoming more and more dangerous.
So given that that's our reality and no reason to think that it's going to change, what is the remedy then for journalists who I think around the world are rightly frightened by what we've seen unfold most recently in Istanbul?
Well, for one thing, these kinds of murderers are meant to frighten them. If you kill one journalist, then you frighten a whole lot of others. So, people will certainly take lessons from this. One of the lessons is that people need to be much more careful about themselves and about protecting themselves. And the other lesson is we need to start talking about what democracies can do to protect journalists, because the reach of authoritarians and their interest in silencing people is really greater than it ever was.
As we mentioned, more than 40 journalists have died connected to their work this year alone. Some of them have made headlines, some have not. Why has this story in particular made headlines worldwide for more than a week now?
I think this one is particularly gruesome. It's also particularly brazen. Really, in this case, there isn't any doubt he walked into the Saudi embassy and he never came out. So we know that it was actually the Saudi government. There's really no doubt about it. And I think something about the brazenness, the details, the men who are said to have flown in and out, the forensic doctor who's meant to have brought a bone saw. I mean, we still need to wait and see whether some of these things are confirmed. But it shows exactly how brazen the Saudi government was, how little they care about public opinion, and how interested they were in frightening people.
Anne Applebaum, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.